Okay, let's dive right in. You hear this term thrown around constantly, right? The global market. It sounds huge, complicated, maybe even a little intimidating. But what does it actually take to win out there? Well, today, we're going to crack that code.
And to do that, let's start with a really interesting puzzle. How does a single company, let's take a name we all know, like Netflix, how do they not just operate, but totally dominate in more than 190 different countries? The answer to that is basically the secret playbook for today's global economy.
But, before we can get into the playbook, we first have to understand the playing field. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like a giant, constantly shifting jigsaw puzzle. So don't picture some static, old-school marketplace. No, it's way more like a living, breathing ecosystem. It's always evolving, always changing. There are new opportunities popping up, sure, but also new predators, all driven by these huge forces of trade, tech, and of course, politics. Okay, so if it's this living, changing ecosystem, you gotta ask, what's making it change so darn fast? Let's take a look at the key drivers that are constantly redrawing the map. I mean, you've got a bunch of things. Technology is moving at lightning speed. Economies are all tangled up together, and you've got massive growth in totally new markets. And then there's us, the consumers. Our tastes can change in a heartbeat. Just think about the huge global shift towards sustainable products. That one trend is forcing thousands of companies to completely rethink how they do business. But the real game changer, the one that's turned everything on its head, it's that last one, the rise of digital platforms. That's the one that has rewritten all the rules. Yeah, let's zoom in on that for a second. Because this whole digital revolution has created this weird paradox. It's opened up all these doors for everyone, but at the same time, it's thrown up a whole new set of hurdles to jump over. And here's the crazy part. The old barriers to entry, they've practically crumbled. Think about it. Even just 20 years ago, to go global, you had to be a massive corporation with huge resources. But now, thanks to e-commerce and all these digital tools, a small business working out of a garage can literally sell to someone on the other side of the planet. It's wild. And this is where you really see the two sides of that coin. On one hand, you have these incredible opportunities. You can set up an online store, work with remote teams from anywhere, but flip it over, and suddenly you're wrestling with all this complicated stuff, like currencies that go up and down, a total maze of different laws, and the big one, navigating all the different cultures out there. So how do you even begin to handle all that? Well, that brings us right back to our case study. This is where Netflix comes back into the picture. Because their story isn't just a success story. It's a perfect masterclass in how you can navigate these challenges and actually use them to get ahead. I mean, just let that number sink in for a moment. 190 plus countries. To put that in perspective, that's more countries than are members of the United Nations. That is a staggering level of success. And trust me, it did not happen by accident. So what's the secret sauce, really? How on earth did they manage to get people in Japan and Brazil and Nigeria and Poland all excited about the same service? It turns out they followed this really clear 4-step playbook. Step 1, sure, enter a new market. But step 2 is where the magic really happened. They didn't just barge in, they took the time to really understand the local culture, what makes people laugh, what they find dramatic, what they value. Then they adapted their whole strategy. And here's the masterstroke. They started pouring money into making local shows with local actors and writers for that local audience. And this wasn't just about giving people what they wanted. It was about building up local creative industries, creating incredible brand loyalty, and, as we've all seen, discovering that a hit show from Spain or South Korea could become the next global phenomenon. And that right there, that's the whole ballgame. The key wasn't having one perfect product to sell to everyone. It was about one word: flexibility. It was about being dynamic enough and adaptable enough to basically become a different company in every single country they entered. That was the secret. Okay, so that's Netflix. It's a great story. But what does it all mean for you? Let's boil all this down to the essential skills you'd need to make it in this new borderless world. When you strip everything else away, it really just comes down to these 3 things. You've got to be flexible enough to pivot when you need to. You have to be innovative, always looking for new solutions. And maybe most important of all, you've got to be culturally aware enough to realize that not everyone sees the world the way you do. And these aren't just corporate buzzwords, they are flat-out survival skills for today. So we'll leave you with this thought. The old walls are coming down. The digital doors are wide open. This new global arena isn't just the playground for the big guys anymore. It's an ecosystem that's waiting for your idea, your project. So in a world that has fewer and fewer borders, what move are you going to make next?